Oh man, this Phazon stuff is the best. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to discuss with you Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We got a new trailer recently, and for a second there, I legitimately thought I might have a heart attack. What can I say? I have been waiting to play this game for around a third of my life at this point. Although, it is entirely possible that snorting so much Phazon has caused heart problems for me, but I'm sure it's fine. I'm not addicted, I can stop whenever I want. I just don't want to stop because this stuff is good. Where was I? Well, while this game won't have Phazon, which is a shame because it means I won't be able to get any more of the good stuff, it does have a new villainous force, Sylux. Oh, and also, my boys the Space Pirates are back. Which is awesome, because not counting spin-offs, mindless clones, or lone generals, we haven't seen them properly in like 17 years, not since the last mainline Metroid Prime game. Dude, why do video games take so freaking long to make nowadays? It's not cool. I fucking hate the passage of time, but I have to put up with it in order to get to new releases. Anyways, hopefully Ridley's back in this game. I don't care what anyone else says. I will resurrect him myself if I have to. But regardless of that, Sylux seems to be the main head honcho of this game's antagonist hierarchy. They might be working with the Space Pirates, but Sylux himself seems to be the main bad guy of this game. Which does strike me as a bit weird. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sylux is great, and seeing them in the trailer was hype. But they don't really strike me as the final boss type. So far in Metroid, our final bosses have been Bird Magic, Eldritch Horror created by Bird Magic created by Eldritch Horror, and Bird Muscle. Sylux, meanwhile, is just a guy. They're just another bounty hunter, one who Samus already defeated numerous times in Hunters. I mean, sure, they were a bit tougher than the other Hunters, but nowhere near final boss worthy. So that leads me to believe that rather than Sylux being the actual final boss, they're simply this game's Girahim. The Highness to this game's Void Termina, the Zant to this game's Ganondorf, the Kamek to this game's Baby Bowser. Or, for, I guess, a more relevant comparison, the Ridley to this game's Mother Brain. I believe that Sylux will be this game's supporting villain. He'll be the main antagonist for most of the game, with real dialogue and a more personal connection with Samus, whom you'll likely encounter and even fight against several times. However, near the end of the game, he'll bring rise to a threat far greater than himself, and that threat will be this game's final boss. The kind of cosmic horror that you'd expect to cap off a Metroid game. Maybe Sylux was taking orders from this higher villain. Maybe Sylux actually created them. Or maybe they were dead and Sylux resurrected them somehow. But regardless, Sylux's actions in the story will lead into the reveal of this greater threat. This final boss won't have much screen time or character, but it won't need to, since Sylux already filled that role. No, this villain's job is simply to be big and scary and powerful, and to bring an epic conclusion to what had better be a damn near perfect game. Now, assuming that I'm right about this, the final boss of Metroid Prime 4 probably isn't somebody that we've seen before. However, I have seen some people speculate that it's actually Metroid Prime or Dark Samus as the final boss of this game, just like she was with the last three. Now, this would be good for me, because it means I get more Phazon to snort, but in my expert and clearly trustworthy opinion, I don't think that's likely. Metroid seems pretty much done with the Phazon arc, and Sylux never actually encountered Dark Samus or Phazon, so I don't find it likely that they'll try to resurrect her for whatever reason. However, I think there might be another Metroid villain who would work even better as the final boss for Metroid Prime 4. Gorea, the final boss of Metroid Prime Hunters. You know, the same game that Sylux is from? Prime 4 is the continuation of a classic, beloved game trilogy from the good old days, so what better game for nostalgia pandering than the mediocre DS spinoff that most people only played for multiplayer? Why continue off of story elements from the main series, or come up with something new, when we can take stuff from the side games? I mean, come on, for real though, this does make sense. I mean, this game already has Sylux in it, and some people are hoping to see some of the other bounty hunters from Metroid Prime Hunters as well, so why not lean into the Prime Hunter stuff and bring back Gorea too? Gorea's a really cool and underrated villain. Maybe its execution could have been better the first time around, but I would love to see it return. One really cool thing they could take advantage of is how Gorea's been confirmed to shapeshift based on its surroundings, like how it looked all Olympic in Metroid Prime Hunters because it based its appearance off of the Olympics. So if it lands on Vuros, then rather than looking all Olympic, it could have a cool Lemorne-esque design, complete with a new set of psychic powers to boot. And as for how Gorea could even come back, there's a good chance that this game will take place in the distant past. Potentially even thousands of years before the main timeline. Well before Gorea's destruction, or even its imprisonment. So, all Sylux would have to do would be to somehow attract Gorea's comet into landing on Vuros instead of Alinos like it did in the original timeline, and boom, Gorea's in Prime 4 now. Or, alternatively, it's possible that Gorea wasn't even destroyed at the end of Hunters to begin with. It's a cosmic entity. We don't know how it lives or dies. It's entirely possible that it can reform like Dark Samus, and Sylux would just help it with that. Well, I've done it. I've made the perfect theory. Although, wait, won't Sylux need a reason to bring back Gorea in the first place? Right, Gorea is a chaotic monster that destroys civilizations. It doesn't exactly make deals with people like Sylux. Ooh, I have an idea. Revenge. Sylux is bringing back Gorea for revenge. Sylux is going to travel back in time to find an earlier version of Gorea on Vuros before it would eventually die against Samus. Maybe Sylux summons Gorea to Vuros, maybe Gorea went to Vuros before it went to the Olympic Cluster. We don't know Vuros' history, so that's possible. And then, Sylux will bring Gorea back to the future so it can cause a bunch of wanton destruction in Federation space, just like it did in the Olympic Cluster. Thus, bringing Sylux the revenge they so desperately yearn for whatever reason. I don't know, Nintendo hasn't told us why Sylux hates the Federation so much yet. I'm assuming that's information we're gonna get in the game. Well, I've done it. I've concocted the perfect theory. If this isn't how Beyond ends, I might just have to leave it a 2 out of 10 review. Oh, who am I kidding? Each of the game's developers could each kick me in the balls individually, and I'd still give it at least a 9. It's Metroid Prime 4, baby. Now that I've perfected the art of theory crafting, I should make another one. Another theory. On Sylux's identity. Because that's a secret. Oh, yeah, I got this. Sylux is a girl.